Let's get started with table and relationship functions. As part of this, we'll take a look at what exactly lookup value is all about: related table, cross filter, and relationship function. And what is a related function? Before we get in related, lookup. We'll start with the lookup value. In order for this, we need to use multiple tables to give the demo here. That's the reason why I'm using this um, document here, the report file. And here what I do is I just go to the data view, and here we have the fact sales, right? So here we have the fact sales. And before that, we will take a look at the product table. We have a product dimension table here. And then we have in the fact sales. So look here we have product ID, and then the fact sales, you should be having product ID here. But here, if you see here, we have the cost prices available. So you remember few in the past session, I discussed about how to compute the cost price. We have used something here. Look here, just for the sake of demonstration, I did something. I did some calculation here. Okay, so in the case of fact sales table or the sales fact table, it's a transaction kind of table. In this table, you will not have the cost price. You'll be having the list price. What is the list price? That is the selling price. Okay, but usually the cost price will be available in the product dimension. In the product dimension, look here, for this product, what is the cost price? For each product, what is the cost price? We can see it here. Okay, and what we need to do is this cost price, I need to take it and I need to I need to move it to my fact sales table. But here my fact sales many side. Look here, look at the view here, the data view. And if you see here, the product table, the product dimension is this one, and this is my fact sales. In this case, the product ID is the common key between these two tables. Okay, but here I don't have, I just expanded. Yeah, I don't have the cost price. You just think that way, okay? And so usually we will have the list price or selling price here. We will not have the product price. Now what I need to do is I need to bring in this cost price to this table. So you might be asking this one, can't we do drag and drop? No, drag and drop will not work. If you do drag and drop, it will create a line like this. This is for creating the relationship between the tables using the common key column. But here you don't have the cost price, and in this table also you don't have the cost price, right? In this table you have cost price, whereas here you will not have the cost price. Okay, usually, okay. Only in the dimension table, they will have the cost price. One second, something I pressed it mistakenly. Oh, I lost that one. So here we cannot, we can't drag and drop the cost price just like that from one table to another table. Only in the case of creating the relationship, we drag and drop it. Okay, here first of all, cost price is not a unique key. There is no point in doing drag and drop. So how do I bring in this cost price into this table? That is the question now. So now what we do is we will be using a function called lookup value. Lookup value, in this case, there are three arguments. Okay, and the first one is the result column name, what you wanted to bring in here. So this is my cost price, and which column you wanted to search it. So in this case, the search column and this one, okay, search value. So which one you need to use it here, okay. And in this case, the search column is, in our case, cost price. We need to bring in the cost price. I don't know why it's signed in here. Okay, 1 second. Is there anybody else? Because from our office people, they join sometimes and then they do something here. Okay, nobody joined. Okay, look here. The first argument is your the what value you wanted to bring in. So here I want to bring in the cost price. From where? From my dim product dimension table. Okay, in order to bring in the cost price from the product dimension table, how do you bring in here? So because in this product dimension table, I have multiple products are there. I want to bring in the corresponding products unit cost price I need to bring in here. Okay, for example, in this table, I have something called Colgate toothpaste. For the Colgate toothpaste, what is the cost price, right? For each specific product, the related price, cost price should be brought in here. How do I do that? So in that case, what we need to do, this is my fact sales. In this table, product ID, and whatever the product ID is there, go and do a lookup of that product ID in this table, and then return the unit cost price from the product table. Got it? That's it. Look here, this is what I'm saying here. So this is my fact sales in this table. Look here on the right side, this is my fact sales. Here I don't have the cost price. I need to bring in the cost price from, you can ignore this. This is not the actual thing, okay? And I don't have the cost price. So I need to bring in the cost price from the product table. It is available, but it is available in other table. So how do I bring in here? So that's where we are going to use a lookup value function. Okay, so in the lookup value, what we are doing is, in the fact sales, we have the product ID column. Look here, we have the product ID column. So this product ID column, we are passing it to this product dimension table. For this one, okay, and this is the one, this product ID, we are passing it to this table, product table, okay, and then we are going to return the cost price. That cost price, we are going to return it by assigning it to a column name here. We need to create a new column here. See, if I give you a paper in your hand, and if I, in that paper, you have product A, what is the cost price? Product B, what is the cost price? And right, and if I give the other paper, wherein you can see all the transactions, I gave you this sheet, and if I ask you to, I don't know what you are going to do, you give me the, you put the cost price for each and every product here. So what you will do manually, if you have to do it, so you need to look at the other paper where you have the product and product name and the cost price in it, right? And then that cost price you need to bring in here. You need to create, you use a pen and you put one more cell. In that cell, you specify cost price, and then, for each product, what is the corresponding cost price, you will put it there, right? So here, how we do it in this case. In this case, what we do is we use a lookup value function. We don't have to manually do that. We are going to use a lookup value function. So now currently I'm in the fact sales table. Okay, what I do is I just click on this, sorry, not the new table. I mistakenly clicked it. New column. Where is the fact sales? Okay, here the new column. So here, what I do is I just go and change it to the cost price. Here, what I do is I just type the lookup value function. Look here, a lookup value function. Once you type it, it gives you the syntax here. The result column name, which column you wanted to return it, and what columns you wanted to search in, the source column and destination column. Okay, and here what is the column, what we want to return it, the cost price. From where? From the product dimension table, because in the fact sales we don't have the. So what I do is here I use dim product cost price. This is what I want to return it, and then comma, and the next thing is which column I need to search it. Dim product ID, and comma your fact sales product ID. So only then it will be returning the correct cost price for the appropriate products, right? So you are taking the product ID from the fact sales table, and then you are doing a lookup in this table, product table, because in the product table you have cost prices available. So you need to take the product ID and you need to pass it here for for the each corresponding product ID. What is the cost price? I wanted to return it. So for that, the lookup value function is very much helpful. Let us see when I press enter what is happening here. Superb, right? So it retained the cost price correctly here. We will go and check it here, and 40 here, 40, 40, and let me, I don't know. So if this is going to display, yeah, 40, 40, 26.92 is there. Somewhat it is same. So this is how you can bring in a column from another table into this table. So in the interview, they ask you, I know I have two tables. If you want to bring in a column from one table to another table. So for that, the approach is, this is my target table. Fact sales is my target. This is where I'm going to create a new column. We have clicked on new column. So here in the formula bar, what we do is we use lookup value function. Okay. And the what is the argument for what are the values that you pass it? The return value and then the search keys from the two tables. That's all. Product ID is the search key here, right? But the lookup value, one advantage with lookup values, you don't have to have the relationship between the tables. If I delete this relationship link, still it will work. But we have some other function called related function is available. But for that, it requires a relationship. If you don't have the relationship, you cannot bring in the cost price from this table to this table. When the related function, whereas the lookup value, even if you don't have the relationship between the tables, you can bring in the cost price from this table to this table. Similarly, if you want to bring in any column to any other table, you can use lookup value. For that, you don't need a relationship to be created. Whereas we have something else called related function that is available, but the related function requires the relationship between the tables. If you don't have the relationship, it will not bring in here. So what I do is I just go here and we do the same thing with the related, and I don't remember the syntax and all. Let us go and give it a try. And here the new column. Yeah, related column name. That's all. Super, right? The column only draw value from one to or many side of the side here. Okay, related function. Here, the related, can use related or related table. We have two functions are available. So we'll start with the related thing. Okay, related table. And what I am going to do is simply cost price. For example, cost price related. Okay, this is for our understanding. Related is we are going to use a function called related, and related column name. The cost price, sorry, the dim product. Yes, it's working fine. Good. So I'm lucky. Good. So here, look here. In this case, you need to specify the search key between the two tables, because here, even if there is no relationship existing between the table, it'll work, because we are specifying the search key here. In this table, use the product ID. In this table, use the product ID, and check, and then you match the product ID from this table to this table, and then pick up the corresponding cost price and then assign it to the cost price. But here we don't have to specify the common key column between the tables. Okay, simply say related dim product cost price, because behind the scene, the product dimension and fact sales have the relationship between them. Okay, if you drop the relationship, it will not work. I'll just show you here. Look here, I just delete this relationship. Yes. And then if I go here, this one, look here, it is showing an error here. Got it? We are getting error here. So in order for the related table to function to work, we need to have the relationship between the underlying tables. And what is that? Here, the product ID and product ID. Yeah. So now if you press, yeah, automatically look here after creating the relationship, it is perfectly retrieving the value from here. Okay, got it? So this is what the related function is all about. Now let us understand the syntax once again. The related requires the column name. That's it. A single value that is related to the current row. This is similar to the lookup value function in Excel. The related can only draw value from the one-to-one or one side to the many side. So which one is the one side? The product dimension is the one side. You remember here you can see the one next to the product table. And this is the star is many, one to many. To bring in the cost price or any column from one side to many side, you can go for related function. That is what he is saying here. Draw value from the one-to-one or one side to the many side, you can go for one to many, that is related. Okay, this DAX related function requires a relationship exists. See, this is what I said, exists between the current table and the table with related information. So in this case, product dimension and facts tables, these two tables should have the relationship. Otherwise, the related function will not work. Whereas lookup value, you don't have to have the relationship. Even if you drop the relationship, it will work. Next one is the related table. Here, as the name suggests, you need to use the table name here. Whereas here, column name is sufficient. In this case, table name needs to be used here. And this one returns a table of values here. Okay, table of values here. Any of the related table function changes the context in which the data is filtered and evaluates the expression in the new context that you specify. This translated table function requires even, like a related table, you need to have the relationship between the table. It can draw value from the many side to the one side. The related table works one to many side, whereas the related table, the opposite, many to one side. So what I do is I just go and say, I go to the product table now. In this table, I'm going to create a new column. And here what I do is total number of transactions by product. Or I just say total number of product, this one, right? So here I'm going to say count rows. There is a function called count rows. Here I'm going to use related table. And in this case, the fact says. And I just press enter. Look here, total number of transactions. Right? So I just delete this one. You don't have to have confusion here. The product dimension table is a dim product. The dim product, which is nothing but the product dimension table. In this case, it is having unique values in it. This is one side. So now we have brought the value from the many side, to the one side. What we have done, we have used the count rows function, and then we have counted the number of transactions made for each product. Look here. So which means with this we will get to know the product ID P001 bought by two people or in two transactions. P003 purchased 15 times, 15 different transactions this product, the eggs eggs were purchased, and P004 14 transaction, this one. So now you understood when to use a related function, related table. Relate function, you just remember cost price from the product dimension to your fact sales. If you want to bring in the cost price, you can bring in there. Okay, that is one to many. So if you want from your transaction table fact sales, if you want to bring in the total number of transactions made for each product, in that kind of situation, you can bring in, but you can do this one. And similarly, you can go to the customer dimension. You can use the related table function, the same thing. Here, you can create a new column wherein it should show the, yeah, wherein, it should show how many number of transaction made by each customer. Got it? How many number of transaction made by each customer, you can create a column and then you can update. For example, C001, how many number of transactions he made. Okay, that you can find out using related table function. You just give it a try. So after this session, I will share the file. You can give it a try. Okay, so that you'll be able to understand. And the next one is this is pretty simple, related table and relate and lookup value. And the next one is the cross filter direction. Cross filter we have already discussed, and the cross filter function does not return any value, because one student, she was saying that it is returning some value. She got confused at the time of interview. The cross filter function, it is not going to return any value. Only the only scenario where this is helpful is if you want to enable the relationship between the tables bidirectional. That kind of situation, you can use cross filter. For example, here I just repeat this one more time. You have the customer dimension and you have the product dimension. Two dimensions are there. Do we have any relationship exist between these two tables? No, right? So this line goes here, the customer dimension and fact sales, and then product dimension and fact sales, only the relationship is there. So there is no direct relationship exists between the customer and product dimension. If I want to filter my customer dimension using my product dimension, then you need to have the, but it is not there. Hence, we need to create the bidirectional relationship between these two. This is what we discussed. But here, configuring the bidirection, in this case, it is bidirection. The arrow is, usually it goes down, right? But in this case, it goes down and up. So what it says is you can use the customer dimension to filter the fact sales, and you can use the fact sale to filter back your customer dimension table also. Okay, I gave you one simple analogy. See, we get calls from banks, right? Do you need loan or something like that? If you if you want a loan, and if you want to give a call them, call to them back, right? Supposing they call you, and are you looking for a loan? And you said no. And after a few minutes, you realize, oh, I made a mistake. I need to call the bank of staff. I need to ask. It's in that case when you return our call, it will not work. You cannot make a call to this number, right? You just think that way. Similarly, it is something like so. Here, it can go here and here. See, this bank person can call you, but you cannot call back bank. You cannot call back this bank. You just think that way. But this bank can call you because they have your number, but you cannot call them back. Similarly, this bank you cannot call. But if you want to use this, if you want these two guys to communicate, what you need to do is you need to enable the bidirectional relationship. For example, if this guy wants to talk to this guy, you need to enable the direction so you can talk to this guy and he can return the call to this guy, so that this guy can talk to this guy via this guy. You just think that way. Got it? So this is what cross filter direction. In the case of cross filter direction, we understood, how do we use that in the previous session. Anyhow, I just quickly repeated the cross filter direction. I just create this table here. And so for example, I just wanted to know how many number of, I'm going to here already the cross filter customer dimension. Okay, here what I do is I just go to the product dimension table. Product name, I just drag and drop here. And then in this one, I just put quantity here. Okay, in cashew nut, we sold 150 units, and coffee we sold 4 units. Now what I do is I just go to the product, not product, the customer dimension. In this case, I simply drag the customer ID and I just drop it here. It just shows the customer ID here. It is not much helpful. What I do is I just go here and I click on this down arrow. It will open up something like this. Here, I just click on the count. We need the count. Count is the number of occurrences. The cashew nut was purchased by 3 customers, but overall 150 units we sold. 3 customers they purchased. All the 3 customers put together 150 quantities we sold. Similarly, coffee we purchased. Sorry, the 4 coffee purchased, but 2 customers they purchased. So each product, how many number of customers purchased? So this column comes from my product dimension. This column comes from my customer dimension. This column comes from my fact sales. So I want to filter, the customer dimension table using my product dimension table. So for that, I enable the cross filter direction both between these 2 tables, and then I'm able to filter it. Okay, but still, okay, that's what is happening, right? So bi-directional relationship, I enable it. I just show you here. Look here between the customer dimension and the fact sales. Customer dimension and the fact sales, I have enabled the bi-directional relationship. How did I enable this? You just click on this link. It will open up the dialog box. And here you can see that somewhere here, cost filter direction both here. You can use single, that's the default. In the interview, they'll ask you what all the options are available in cross filter direction. You can tell them single both. So, and the next question is like, when will you use both? The default one is single. The both is, supposing I wanted to, gives this example. I have a customer dimension table and product dimension table, and I have a fact sales. If I want to use my product dimension table to filter my customer dimension table, it is not possible because there is no direct relationship. Hence, I need to create I need to configure the cross filter direction as both between these 2 tables, not between these 2 tables, because you want to filter this table, right? Hence, this table and this table should be enabled with the cross filter direction both. But this is not the right way of doing it. Though it is, the approach is correct to configure it, but it is not recommended approach because it will cause performance issues. If you have millions and millions of records, it'll do so too many back and forth will be there. It will cause unnecessary performance issues. So what you do is you can make it single, and then you go and write a DAX function wherein you can specify. I just quickly go and write this one. Here I just use the count function. Here what I wanted is customer ID from my dim customer. Okay, and the next one is, yeah, so I need to use the calculate function for this. You remember that which one? The cross filter function cannot be used separately. You need to use you need a calculate function in order to call the cross filter function. It's something like you need an intermediary person, right? So to talk to do this job. Okay, so something like that. So cross filter requires an intermediate function or the helper function, which is called calculate here. The cross filter here, what is the table that you need to specify? Bi-direction, the fact sales customer ID, comma, the dim customer customer ID. Okay, and comma both. You need to specify both. Look here, it is already available. So in this case, what we are doing is we are enabling the bidirectional relationship as both between the customer dimension fact sales till this computation is over. Once this computation is over, once it displays the value here, right? So that's it. It'll reset it back to single instead of both single. Okay, I just press enter. Yeah, here it is there. I just drag and drop this one here. Look here, these two values are matching, right? These two values. But if I go here and if I make it a single direction, single, this is the approach is expected. Actually, you are not supposed to configure it manually that one. Look here, in this case, what happens? This one, I have used the measure cross filter function. Using this function programmatically, I enable the bidirectional relationship till this calculation is over. Count, okay? And once this is done, and then I don't need the cross filter direction to be enabled as both. It will be, set it back to single. Okay, and that is what this cross filter goes. So now it shows 3 to 2, but here when I see this column, I dragged and dropped from my customer dimension table, right? So in this case, what happens? It repeats the same value here. Why? Because here I change the bidirectional to single instead of both. I change to one. This column is not required. This is another way. If you go and enable the bidirectional relationship here, this column will also show the similar values of this one, but that is not the right way of doing it. Don't go and manually set it here. Instead, you can use the cross filter function. See here, I just dragged and dropped the measure. I did not change the column name. So once you receive my report file, for you to check the logic, what I used it, right? So, or the syntax, what I used it, you can, let's see, check this one, cross filter both. Then you can go to the fields and just beneath that you search it, cross filter both. Yeah, look here, this is the one. And then what you do is just click on it. And then you can see the logic, the thing here, the calculate and what I used it here, you can change, you can look at it here. Okay, fine. I just save it. I'm going to leave this as it is for you to test it out. Okay, in order for you to, for this column also to be filtered like this, you can go and manually set it here, okay, bidirection, but that is not the recommended approach. So, okay, it returns cross filter, returns no value. So it did not return any value, right? It simply enable the direction as both, okay, in this case. And then the cross filter uses existing relationship. In order for the cross filter to work, the relation should be there between the tables. Otherwise, it will not work. Look here, this is what we were getting it. In our case, it is 6666. But, when you use the cross filter function with both, right, it is doing the proper filtering. Use relationship, we have already discussed it. Even in the case of use relationship function, it is not going to return any value. In this case, if you want to enable the inactive relationship active temporarily, or until the calculation is computed, like how I used here, the cross filter function. Instead of cross filter, you are going to use relationship, and between these two tables, and then remove this one. This option is not available in the use relationship. If you specify the two key columns, that is enough. And then here sum of sales amount, if you give, that's it will work. But here instead of cross filter, instead of use relationship, so that you can enable the inactive relationship temporarily until the computation is done, right? Until the computation done, this one will be enabled. And then once the computation is done, it will reset it back to inactive relationship, like a cross filter direction. Logical functions, all these things we already discussed, and variables, we will see it once again. And okay, next we will jump into the time intelligence function.